The Chicago Bulls ranked 23rd in Bleach Report's list of teams with the brightest future. Talk a little bit about why that's a valid concern around the Chicago Bulls. We're also going to look at point guard prospects the Bulls could draft in this upcoming draft, even though this is the position I really don't want to talk about. We're going to get it all and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content, y'all. So the Bleach Report ranked every team's kind of future, right? Their future outlook, their title window within the next 3 years. And the Chicago Bulls ranked 23rd on that list. Nobody's going to be surprised by that. And I think that when you look at it, that is kind of the exact reason why you see people asking questions like, all right, why are we re-signing DeMar DeRozan for $40+ million? If that's what ends up happening, is because does it really raise the ceiling for the Chicago Bulls? Yeah, I mean, it definitely lowers it too, right? But when you look at it, the Bulls are so far off from some of the teams. When you look at the teams and where they rank, Denver, of course, number 1, Boston, number 2, Minnesota Timberwolves, number 3, OKC Thunder, number 4, Dallas Mavericks, number 5, Milwaukee Bucks, number 6, the New York Knicks, number 7. But, I'm not going to go through them all, but then you have the Chicago Bulls ranked behind teams like the Houston Rockets, San Antonio Spurs, even the Atlanta Hawks, right? And then you have the Chicago Bulls at number 23 as far as teams with the brightest futures. And it's because of the way that this team is. There's so many question marks around our young players, right? Now, some of those have been alleviated because of the way that Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu played last season, right? You still want to see that be maintained and be a consistent thing. They're going to have to do it again next year before you're fully ready to buy in on it being the constant impact they're going to have. But tons of questions around Dalen, Patrick Williams, right? Questions are even around Julian Phillips, Adama Sanogo, Henry Drell, right? Ernalot Batum. When you look at the younger players that we have on this team, more of them have question marks than not. And then you look at the veterans, DeMar DeRozan, 35 years old, right? Nikola Vucevic, definitely on the decline. Zach LaVine, we don't even know if he's going to be on the team, right? Torrey Craig, Devin Carter, right? So when you look at the place that this team is, the Bulls sit at a place where their young players haven't really shown, outside of Kobe and Ayo, that they're even close to being ready to grab the bull by the horns and lead the team. You have old players that are leading, the older players that are leading the team, but you don't, I mean, it's already been shown what that window is going to be like with them. You got a player in Lonzo Ball who could be part of that young core who we can't even get on the court right now. So the questions around the Bulls and their future are all valid no matter what those questions are. At every single level of this franchise, there are question marks around. And hopefully that comes, some of the answers come to that with the changes that like AK has talked about wanting to make this offseason. Is that a guaranteed thing? No, because there are still big-ass question marks in the front office. There are big-ass question marks in the coaching staff. We got big-ass question marks everywhere. We might as well be the Chicago Riddlers. The big-ass questions, right? Everything's a damn question when it comes down to this team and the team's future and present in a lot of ways. And so, I would love to see a situation in which the Bulls are going to turn it all around. And shout out to you guys. I see your guys' comments, even when I'm not able to interact. Like the people say, oh, well, all we got to do is we can package this and this, move Vooch here, move Alex Caruso here, draft this guy. We can get into the second. Listen, first of all, if you got to do all those mental gymnastics, shout out to you for thinking, especially for the ones that are well thought out. But let's be clear here. It ain't that easy. This ain't 2K, and AK hasn't really shown that he wants to do it, even if it was that easy. So it's just this place where the lack of trust from ownership to the roster, right? The lack of solid questions from the ownership to the roster, or solid answers from the ownership to the roster. Everything, it's systemic when it comes to the Chicago Bulls team. We are rotting from the core, from the inside out, and the outward product that they give us is rotten. Yeah, it has its cool days. It has its cool marks. It has its things that you're looking at and say, hey, we can cut this out and this is going to be nice. Being Ayo and Kobe White right now. But it's just the how we got here is not just because of the lack of being active at the trade deadline. It's a combination of injuries. It's a combination of discourse with like Zach LaVine not wanting to play for Billy Donovan, the lack of development that we've had in certain areas. All this shit plays into the same thing. The Chicago Bulls are a big-ass question mark, and that is not going to change, probably not completely by this offseason. Maybe you can start seeing a better direction and kind of a better path to adding some clarity for this team. But overall, it ain't coming. It's not happening. And so, it sucks to be in this place with a franchise that, like, I love so much, right? And I know some Bulls fans are like, at this point, like, the pessimism is the only thing that they know. The doubt is the only thing that they know, because that is the only thing that this team has given us consistently is reasons to doubt. Like I said, whether that's roster, coaching, ownership, front office, all of it. Big-ass question mark. And so hopefully this team can figure it out. Like I said, getting on the right path. And maybe that right path is trying to keep your pick in 2025 draft. We ain't even through the 2024 draft, but maybe that is it. But even then, do you really trust? Me and Pat were over on Locked On Bulls, and Pat said, and he asked a question, and because my only response could have been like, do you really trust AK to do that? That sucks. That sucks to be in, man. But hey, maybe some clarity is added now. Maybe they add some clarity in the draft, which is where they can pick up a prospect, and hopefully that prospect ends up turning into something. But today we're going to talk about point guards. Now, this is a position that I held off to the last because I just don't see the Bulls drafting a point guard unless they see that point guard as absolutely the best available on the board. But then also, I didn't see them necessarily drafting another off-ball player with Walker Kessler on the board, and they took Dalen Terry. And so, AK, you got to do everything. And when I do these draft profiles, I just want to be clear. I'm not saying me doing an episode on point guards. Am I saying that this is the position the Bulls need to draft? It's basically to give you guys all the information to talk about some of these prospects. So if you hear their name called on draft night, you're not like, who the hell is this guy? You can say, hey, no, Haize talked about this guy. He said that these are the positives and negatives here. So that's why I do it. That's why I go every position by position. Starting next week, right? On Monday, that's when I'll start getting into I'll get to my favorite, right? I'll have the episode on Monday is probably going to be my favorite prospects for the Bulls in this draft, regardless of position. I'll get into those guys after going by position. Then I'll go through sleepers and things like that. So we're not done with draft coverage. We're just done going specifically position by position. And this is the one I really didn't want to do, but I have to be thorough. We're going to go ahead and get into the point guards. The first one that we're going to talk about here is Rob Dillingham, 19-year-old point guard, 175 pounds. He played last year in Kentucky, 15 points per game, 2.9 rebounds, about 4 assists per game. He did that on 47% shooting overall from the field, and he shot the ball 44% from three-point range, taking 4.5 three-pointers per game. Also a steal per game as well. He gets active defensively. When you look at the strength in this guy, he can create his own shot. A lot of the guys that are talked about in this draft don't have that ability to create their own shot. You don't have to worry about that with Dillingham. He can create his own shot. He can also get into the paint. He has runners and floaters that he uses. He has a nice layup package on top of all of that, and catch and shoot. This dude in catch and shoot threes is a monster. A monster, I tell you. Like, the thing is, he's a little bit small, 6'3". You take that for what you will. But overall, I really like this guy's game overall. Like, if the Bulls were to draft a point guard and they drafted him, I wouldn't be mad at it. Now, he's probably going to go before the Bulls pick, but because of the validity in the draft selection, how you can go number 4, you can go number 12, right, in this draft. And so because of that, I did want to talk about him. He can make plays for others. He can create for himself. He passes well off the dribble, shoots really good off the dribble. He's a really good outlet passer on top of all of that. And he's become a more willing passer. This is something that he hasn't always done. He passed out of 57% of pick and roll opportunities in Kentucky, as well as 43% with his time with the overtime elite as well. This is a guy who's willing to learn. He's willing to fit into what the team concept is, and that's something you got to love about it. And the effort that he gives is really good. Defense, though, it can be a little erratic defensively. He sometimes can get too handsy. That leads to him fouling sometimes. But, he doesn't have the best defensive IQ. That's the thing with him. He can give the effort. The IQ isn't really there. Now, if you have a team that communicates on defense, I think that that's something that can definitely improve with him. And while he was listed as 6'3" in college, the elite actually listed him at 6'1" by the overtime. So he's short. He has a small frame. Not a lot of muscle on that as well. And the thing is that even if he did try to give a lot of effort on the defensive side of the ball, you have some questions on if he's even going to be effective doing that because of the things that I mentioned, the inability, the lack of size, the short height and stature and things like that. So there's a lot to look when it comes to that. He's 6'1" with a 6'2" wingspan, so he doesn't have a long wingspan either. He's drawn comps to Lou Williams and Bones Highland, so take that for what you will. But as a small guy, we've seen small players before, but that are able to just fill it up. And he's a guy who offensively, he's dynamic, and that could be enough to propel him to find success at the NBA level. But again, that's if the Bulls decide to go point guard at all. All right, let's talk about the next prospect. Carlton Carrington, 19 years old, 6'6", 190 pounds as of right now, point guard with some shooting guard upside as well because of his size and his length. You can look at him as somebody who can definitely turn into a point guard at the next level. He measured at 6'5" at the draft combine without shoes, so take that for what you will. He pulls up. Like, the thing is, the mid-range, he is a filthy mid-range player. Really good crossover as well to get to his spots, has really good athleticism as well. And he has a nice change of speed that he uses to get creative for himself. And he hits these crazy shots. If you look at his game, step backs, off balance shoes, contested fadeaways, he can do it all. So when he's a shot maker, he does a lot there. He moves without the ball pretty well. Also, he's a solid playmaker. The thing with him is he's jump shot reliant. Heavy jump shot usage from him. He doesn't really do a lot at the rim either. Right now, mid-range is his biggest strength there, but he has tons of upside. 14 points per game basically is what he averaged last year in college playing for the Pittsburgh Panthers. He did that on 41% shooting and 32% shooting from three-point range, taking 6 3-pointers per game. Still averaged 5 rebounds, 4 assists in that, right under a steal per game as well. So the fact that he's a really good rebounding guard as well as somebody who can pass and play make as well, that brings a lot to him at that point guard position. He does have some struggles though, right? Because he's so jump shot reliant, when he does penetrate and gets to the rim, he doesn't always finish well. And that could come with him filling out his frame. He does have a frame that can be filled out as well. He has a really good crossover, but again, because he lacks the ability to kind of get to the rim and has that layup package, it can affect him. He's also under the rim player on top of that. He hasn't been a great 3-point shooter. He takes it at volume. It's decent. It's just not great, right? So, and he's kind of right-hand dominant as well. He does have a left, but that's something you definitely want to see strengthen up as well. If he can add some to his frame, I could definitely see him being either on-ball or off-ball guard, and that's a really good thing for him as well. So Carlton Carrington is a solid point guard prospect in this draft, and one, because of his versatility and how he could project to play multiple positions. I kind of like him if the Bulls were to go there. We'll see. Though I'm not calling it, but again, I don't think the Bulls go point guard at all in this draft. But hey, you got your information if they do. Next up, Devin Carter, I want to talk about. Another point guard, shooting guard combo. 6'3", though. So, he brings some things there. I think he is the son of Aaron Carter, who used to play in the NBA. 19.7 points per game, 8 rebounds, almost 4 assists per game, at 47% shooting in college as well. He shot the ball as well from three-pointer at a 37% clip, taking 6.8 three-pointers per game, so almost 3 of them. I love the rebounding aspect. In the modern NBA, if you have guards that can rebound and can start the break and are solid passers, it really helps with so much. And so that's, again, I like this guy a lot, Devin Carter. I like a whole hell of a lot. He finishes at the rim really well. He gets active on the defensive side of the ball. He slashes. He moves without the ball. That's definitely something that we can use. And he's really good at catching the guy in pick and rolls as well. He can run some pick and rolls. I really like it. And on the defensive side of the ball, it's a mixed bag, right? It's not bad. It's not bad at all. He's a very active defender. So because of that, you can see him turning into a solid enough team defender. I don't think he's ever going to be a lockdown defender, but he's a solid enough team defender to where I feel confident in his ability to kind of develop that part of his game. I think he'll develop it. But some people may not share that. So I think ultimately when you look at it, he's compared to Bruce Brown. That's where the comps he's drawn. He's 6'3" with a 6'7" wingspan. One of the older players in this draft at 22 years old. He has the dog in him. Again, if that's something that you're looking for, he's crafty in the way that he finishes around the rim. Also, the bigger question is the shooting. He has a hitch in his shot with the slow release. And so, being a guard, you worry about, he's the son of Anthony Carter. I said Aaron Carter. Am I thinking about pop bands? Anthony Carter. But, at the end of the day, like, he has a lot of the raw intangibles. You can see him going in the lottery, right? Or upwards and maybe low lottery, but I really like the guy as well. A solid prospect in this one. Not great. Again, not great. Nobody's great here that I'm saying, again, because I'm not saying the Bulls need to draft any of these guys, but he is a solid point guard prospect, and I like him overall. I think, when you look at the tenacity that he plays with, you gotta like that a lot. So I like him as a player. Again, he's one of the more solid and well-rounded point guard options. I think here, if the Bulls were going to go point guard, but we'll see if they end up doing it. And then another one that I want to talk about, and this is a guy that I think it was Brazil Popular brought up. Tyler Kolek is, I believe, how you pronounce his name. 23 years old, so one of the older players in this draft. 6'3", 195 pounds. But the thing that you're going to see about this guy is that he is a playmaker. And he's a finisher around catch and shoots, finisher around the rim. He's going to be somebody that you absolutely, when he's on the court, he can be a lead guard, and he loves attacking the basket. I really like him. He's a left-handed player as well. He shoots the three-pointer and catch and shoot opportunities. Smart defender because he doesn't have necessarily the best athleticism. He's really smart. The basketball IQ for this guy is through the roof. This is the type of guy, and all jokes aside, this is the type of player that I would love the Bulls to have a second-round pick in this draft, because there is some possibility he falls to the second round. Some mocks have him going more towards the end of the first, but if he was a guy that fell to the second round, I wouldn't hesitate taking him, because he can be your lead guard coming off the bench and maybe even develop to an NBA starter, depending on how you fill out the rest of the team. With his craftiness, the fact that he is a floor general, he's one of those old school type players that he will absolutely lead your team at the point guard position. He's a leader. He's intense. He's fiery. He's the type of player that, honestly, we appreciate in Chicago. We appreciate that. And so the thing with him, as far as negatives, is that shot release can be slow at times. Not always, but it can be slow. He needs to work on that. Doesn't do a lot in the mid-range. With the way that he attacks, if he can develop kind of a mid-range step back that he can use consistently, I think that his ceiling will go up tremendously if he's able to do that. And the fact that he is a smaller point guard, you kind of worry about that in an area where point guards are getting more physical and being 195 pounds. But again, am I worried about it? Slightly. But I think overall, where he's expected to go at, I'm not really too worried about it, right? Now, if the Bulls were to take him at number 11, that's where we get into some issues with. But overall, his skill set and things like that, I'm not knocking too much on him. So, these are the point guards that kind of stood out the most to me. I'm not doing 5 like I did at every position, because, again, the point guards in this draft, they're not a lot of great ones. So just to be honest with you, there are some ones that can round out and start and be really good when it all comes down to it. But like I've said before, I didn't cover Reed Shepherd on this because he's going to be the first point guard probably taken off the board. So he's somebody that I could have covered in this one, also with Kentucky, but I'm just not going to. Maybe I'll do it in one of the kind of side ones. Maybe I'll do an episode on players that, if they fall, the Bulls absolutely need to take. But overall, I think the point guard position in this draft, it's not the best either, right? So this is a draft that's strong in centers and it's strong in wings. I like a lot of the wing prospects, and power forwards as well. It's solid enough in power forwards, but specifically kind of those two-way forwards that can play small forward or power forward is what this draft is strong in on that, and then really strong in centers. You can get a player like Khalil Ware maybe after the lottery, and I think that he has the potential to be one of the best centers or bigs taken in this draft. So, that's kind of the way I hope the Bulls go, more so than point guard. But again, with AK out the helm, you just never know what he's going to do. I would have thought, and again, to go back, that Walker Kessler was right there. It would have made a lot of sense to take him. He decided to do something different. And so because of that, that's why I'm as thorough as going by position. But next week, that's where we get into some other things going into next week. Starting Mondays, where I'll do an initial list of the best players that I think are the players that I want to see the Bulls pick at number 11. Then I'll probably go sleepers at number 11 after that. And then we'll keep, going there for it after that. But thank you guys for tuning in, man. I appreciate you guys so much for all the support through the offseason. We've still been killing it. You guys have still been showing out in droves. We'll get some live streams scheduled in here too, kind of after my son's high school graduation, which is on June 2nd. That's when I'll kind of be able to do some more of the odds and ends things. After that, it's really kind of all gears towards that right now. But you guys know I love you guys. It's going to still stay daily over the offseason. The work does not stop here. And still, if there are any prospects that I did not cover in this that you want me to cover, that you want to hear me do a draft profile on, this is your time to give it in. Missy, Yves, Missy, I think is how you pronounce it. I'm starting to watch his tape now. He will be on one of those lists next week as well, because I know I didn't cover him in the center prospects. Some people have already asked about that. And also Johnny Furphy, I believe is how. He's another guy that I'll cover as well. But otherwise, make sure you guys are following the show at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.